Well, are you familiar with the many 12 Rules for Life books and articles? Of course, it mostly started with the popular book by controversial author Jordan Peterson, but today everybody's getting into the game writing their own 12 Rules for Life. And today, even I, Vern, attempt my own version of 12 rules. So today on Finding Traction, 12 Rules for Porn Recovery. Welcome aboard.
Ready?
When it comes to porn, are you stuck, spinning out, or slipping backwards in your life? If so, then welcome to the Finding Traction podcast, a show dedicated to those who are looking to gain recovery momentum away from porn and toward the life and relationships they have always hoped for. Now, here's your host, Vern Tomke.
Well, before I get into these 12 rules, I am in the process of starting 2 new groups. I'd like to get 5 or 6 guys in each group. It's kind of a good size, maybe 7, somewhere in that neighborhood. But I have a couple different kind of groups, regular guys groups from all backgrounds, faith perspectives. We walk through the Finding Traction course together. That's part of the course, and that's part of the groups that we do. And we're going to be starting a new group up here shortly in the new year. Also, I have a group, if you are specifically in a role like a pastor, priest, something in the neighborhood of full-time Christian work or full-time ministry, all of those things. Sometimes there's unique perspectives and unique situations. So I often will pull together a group for people who are in full-time vocational ministry roles. So I have 2 or 3 guys that are looking to start a group in that area as well. So whatever scenario you are in, I'd love to connect with you. My email is bandofbrothers.care@gmail.com. So reach out to me if you have any questions. Oftentimes just getting together with guys. Again, there's no cost to it. I just get together, do a Zoom call with guys, and we have a chat about, hey, how can I help? If there's something I can do to maybe give you some greater traction, maybe point you in the right direction. It's not always what I'm doing. Maybe it's what somebody else is doing or some material. Sometimes people, just want a bit of some hope and encouragement along the way. So reach out to me and we'll set up a Zoom call where we can get to know each other. Alrighty, so let's get back to this idea of 12 rules for life. And obviously, most recently, it started with Jordan Peterson's book, 12 Rules for Life. And whatever you think about his social commentary on other areas, this book was actually wildly popular and did really well. So some of his rules, and this may sound like pretty standard fare, I like his very first rule. Rule number 1, fix your posture. Stand up straight with your shoulders back. Don't slouch. He had this whole thing about be like a lobster, assert your dominance. It's just kind of an interesting perspective. That was his very first rule. So you're going, wow, where are we going with this? But a lot of these other ones were great advice for everybody. But again, you could say pretty common sense. Rule number 3, stick with or surround yourself with people who want the best for you. Yeah, that makes great sense. Rule number 9, learn to be a good listener. Important, absolutely important. And then rule number 12, take time to appreciate the good things in life. And he has this great line, pet a cat when you encounter one on the street. Now, again, you go, well, okay, why was that so popular or whatever? But I've talked to a number of guys, younger men, or people who actually had teenagers, teenage boys in particular, who in reading that book, it actually really changed their outlook on life, especially young men who were drifting. It's interesting. The byline to that book is an antidote to chaos. It reminds me of a couple earlier podcasts I did, What's Wrong with Young Men? And again, I think it was just saying some of those common kick in the pants kind of things that maybe people needed to hear that wasn't from their parents. So that was kind of a bit of the idea of that. I've only skimmed it. I've not read the book completely. I've just looked at the rules. But again, as often goes, you have one successful book. It spawns an entire industry of other people who try to take a shot at it and replicate that success. One of my favorite takes on this list is by the author and podcast host of a podcast called Revisionist History. His name is Malcolm Gladwell. You might be familiar with him. He wrote the book Tipping Point or Outliers or Blink. And most of those books are known for his kind of out-of-the-box or counterintuitive kind of insights. And I listened to one of his podcasts recently, and he gave a stab at those rules, and he spent time on his very first rule. And this is what it was. You ready? Rule number 1, pull the goalie. Now, pull the goalie. Now, if you are unfamiliar with ice hockey, of course, I'm Canadian, so that's kind of like you can hardly be unfamiliar with ice hockey. But if you're unfamiliar with ice hockey, remember this is the way it works oftentimes. Let's say you get behind in a game. There's 3 periods, and now you're in the 3rd period, and you're behind by a score of, say, 2-1. So you need to increase your chances to score. So one option is to pull your goalie, where you now have 6 attacking players as opposed to 5. Now, of course, that increases your chances of scoring, but it also increases your chances of someone shooting the puck into your empty net. So there's a calculus here. There's, there's a better chance of you scoring, but there's also a better chance that you're going to be scored upon. But heck, you're behind by 1 goal, so people near the end of the game take chances. So why coaches wait until the very end of the game is when all is lost if they don't score a goal, is they will pull the goalie to increase their chances. So the question now becomes mathematically, and we're going to get into some stats here, when is the best time to pull your goalie? Now, the answer here mathematically is surprising. A team that is down by 1 goal, according to mathematics, you ready for it? Should pull their goalie with 5 minutes and 40 seconds remaining in the goal, in the game. 5 minutes and 40 seconds. It's usually only done in the last minute or 2. A team that's down by 2 goals, mathematically speaking, should pull their goalie with 11 minutes and 40 seconds left. Now, I've had passionate arguments with hockey fans over this where they just say that is total garbage. That does not make sense. I had the same conversation with a family member recently. And one of the things is they say, well, nobody does that. Well, why does nobody do it? Well, nobody does it. No coach does it because of the huge amount of displeasure that they would experience if it backfired. Think about it. A game could quickly become a blowout loss, especially if you didn't put the goalie back in. 3-1 could be 5-1, 6-1, 8-1. And that lowers the entertainment value for the fans. But a loss is still a loss. So you might not like statistics. You might not, if you've watched the movie Moneyball with Brad Pitt, that's about putting it with baseball. Of course, analytics is something used in football, when to go for it in 4th down. But because this is a Canadian example, we are going with the idea of pull the goalie and pull the goalie earlier than people want you to. Now, what does that have to do with a life principle? Well, what he's really saying is this. In his usual counterintuitive way. We should make choices on the basis of what serves you. You should make choices on the basis of what serves you and your goals, rather than living by the conventions, the pleasure or displeasure that others will express about your choices. That's really what's behind this first life principle, he says, about Paul the goalie. All right, enough about hockey. Let's have some fun. I want to come up with just 12 rules for porn recovery. They're not all my rules. They're just a rehash of what people have told me, things I've heard and listened to. And as I distill down, here's 12 of the top rules that I can think of that I want to throw by you. Number 1, recovery from a life of embedded porn habits requires the help of God and the help of others. All that is to say this: you can't do it on your own. You can't learn your way into recovery on your own. You can't podcast your way into recovery on your own. You can't will your way into recovery on your own. What am I telling you? You can't do it on your own. I mean, that's really the one rule we've got to start with. If we don't start with that rule, and when I say with the help of God and others, I mean outside of yourself, outside of your own resources, outside of your own willpower. That is rule number 1. We could almost stop there. That rule pretty well covers many things. Here we go. Number 2. Sleep is the number 1 recovery discipline you need. If in doubt, go to bed and sleep on it. Here's a fun fact. Do you know how many hours people slept a night before the light bulb was invented? 11 hours a night. You can check it out. Number 1 recovery activity is sleep. That's the second rule. Number 3, if you haven't changed anything since your last relapse, your next time will look like your last time. It's just that simple. If you haven't changed anything since all you've done is really come up with a short-term burst of willpower. But trust me, your next time will look just like your last time if you haven't changed anything. Number 4, if you can't reach 30 days clean time, you need to commit to reach out to somebody every day and don't stop until you hit 30 days of clean time. So when you hit 30 days, you can come back to me and I'll give you another rule. But start with that one. As I've said in the earlier podcast, the one rule to rule them all. Number 5, there's nothing you can do to speed up your recovery, but there's 100 ways to slow it down. And I've tried most of them. In general, really, if you've had a life of embedded porn habits, I've found with most of guys, it's a 2 to 3 year process of really changing the way they live their lives. But it can be a heck of a lot longer if you're unwilling to apply some of the very basic things that's needed. So again, you can't speed it up, but you can certainly slow it down. Here's one thing that will slow it down, is the idea of looking for a magic bullet. Number 6, magic bullets are exactly that. Magic, because they aren't real. And just like real bullets, they lead to lead poisoning. Magic thinking in recovery will lead you to look for shortcuts that will only, in the long run, make your recovery longer and more painful than it needs to be. That's number 6. Number 7, your brain will tell you 100 different ways that you are different. You're not different. You're not special. You're not a snowflake. You can't learn to live without common sense. To try to live without common sense boundaries won't work for you. You won't discover an easier, softer way that will get you results that have so far eluded you. You're not special. You're not different. It's pretty much the same process for everybody. And just making you Christian or religious or whatever it is won't somehow magically lift you above the struggle either, just in case you're wondering. I know that because I have all sorts of not only religious people, but Christians and even professional Christians that couldn't find the magic bullet to suddenly change their lives. Number 8, change your environment to change your results. There was an old ad, I know up here, maybe you had it, in the States as well. Change the cheese, you change the taste. And that's really something I learned from Benjamin Hardy. Forget about willpower. Change your environment to position yourself for success. Change your environment. Having said that, there's number 9. And this is a rule that's so common, you've heard it, but I need to add it in as well. Porn is not your main problem. It's your favorite solution. Which leads to the obvious question, what are you trying to solve with porn? At some point, you need to deal and remove the internal pull and pressure towards porn, whether it's your unmanaged emotions, your childhood trauma, your unmet needs. Otherwise, even if you manage to stop looking at porn, you're simply going to find a new medicine jar. Porn is not your main problem. It's your favorite solution, number 9. Number 10. Real recovery isn't about not looking at porn. It's about changing the way you view women. Okay, that's worth a whole podcast in itself, right? And it's not just about not looking at porn. It's completely changing the way you view and relate to women. Every one of these, again, are huge. Talking about that, I want to steal one from Craig Para that I just love this quote, and I might get it wrong, but you get the idea. Real recovery isn't just about not looking at porn. It's 10%, 20% about that. The rest of it, 80%, is about kicking ass in life, right? It's about living the life you've always dreamed possible. That's why I tell people, this is why recovery was such a gift to me. Even my struggles with porn, looking back, were such a gift to me because, in my learning to understand myself and work and build community, my recovery actually was a window into an opportunity for a whole bunch of great life changes that changed the way I view and related to my life. So that's number 11. And finally, number 12. There is nothing to stop me living porn-free other than the belief that I'll never be able to live without porn. It's kind of like that thing. The only thing we have to fear is fear itself. See, I believe true freedom is possible for you. You are not so fundamentally broken or flawed that you can't find a way to complete and total freedom. Again, it's going to be with the help of God and the help of others around you. But you can walk in lasting freedom. Let me end with a couple really, in case you're discouraged, and I understand how people get discouraged, let me end with some really discouraging football, because we're moving into NFL playoff season. My team is still in it, so this isn't too painful for me to bring up. But let me make the example with football. I've already talked about hockey. Let me bring football in here. Not soccer, my British people, football. Just because you have never made the Super Bowl doesn't mean you never will. Did you know that there's only 3 teams that have never made the Super Bowl? Arizona, Jacksonville, and, believe it or not, Detroit. Now, that could change this year. Just because you've never made the Super Bowl doesn't mean you never will. Next one. Just because you've played in the Super Bowl and never won it doesn't mean you never will. Did you know that there's 2 teams that have played in the Super Bowl 4, not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 times and have never won? Those 2 teams, and some of you are screaming at me right now, from 2 cities. One is Buffalo, and the Twin Cities, yes, Minnesota. But do they hang it up? No. right? So what does all that have to do with this last number 12 rule about porn recovery? Just because you have been unsuccessful so far doesn't mean that you can't find the tools and the team to help you be successful. So, in closing, I want to end with a short clip and quote from a famous sports interview with the old coach of the New York Jets, Herm Edwards. He makes the quote and makes this point the best way. We'll see you next time.
This is what's great about sports. This is what the greatest thing about sports is. You play to win the game. Hello? You play to win the game. You don't play to just play it. That's the great thing about sports. You play to win. And I don't care if you don't have any wins. You go play to win. When you start telling me it doesn't matter, then retire. Get out. Because it matters.